So with y'all, man, we got another video. We got basically, you know what I'm saying? The it's basically a part two of yesterday. We got the NFL. Let's see, man, the new trade.
Free agency frenzy. Looking for
Be so smooth with you. Already seen this last video, so we're just gonna skip this one. We be so smooth with y'all, bro. Shout out to NFL though, man. Let's see this.
Yes, coming into the newsroom, the Colts finalizing a deal with Daniel Jones. Of course, the new league year starts.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie. I might shoot all this stuff. I ain't gonna cap, bro. Shout out my nigga Daniel Jones, bro, cause when he was on the Giants, that nigga was some ass. I'm gonna be so smooth with you, bro. But shit, 2 years, $88 million, bro. This up to $100 million that this man can get, bro. Shout out my boy Daniel Jones, bro.
Became official and all concerns.
I mean, like I said, I know Phillips got the highest paid contract, which is 4 years for 120 mil. Bro.
Could go away. A 2-year deal that could be worth up to $100 million if the incentives go and everything works out. So Daniel Jones will remain in Indianapolis. Finally, also official, Kyler Murray no longer an Arizona Cardinals football player after 7 seasons, released and announced seconds after the new league year actually began, as a lot of folks, including perhaps Kyler himself, was waiting for this particular statement that did come from the Cardinals today, saying with today's start of the new league year, and Jackson's now official. We want to thank Kyler for everything he's done for the organization over the last 7 seasons. That comes courtesy of Monty Ossenfort. So now Kyler can have some conversations with other folks. Also released at the quarterback position, Kirk Cousins gets a post-June 1 designation as the
Where do you think Kyler Murray gonna go?
and the Falcons were able to sign Tua Tagovailoa. They also have got Michael Penix Jr. coming back from his ACL reconstruction. So Kirk Cousins free to have those discussions as well. And one part of the news of yesterday involving Trey Hendrickson getting a 4-year deal could be worth up to $60 million guaranteed after the Crosby trade falls through. People speculate.
Wait. Oh, yeah. Man, Crosby one got canceled. Okay, so Trey Henderson might go to the Ravens. I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. I don't really know the Ravens D-line. I don't know anybody they have on their D-line, bro. I'm gonna be so smooth with you. But shit, they do need some defense. But they did trade Likely, so they probably need, a tight end. I don't know if Zay Flowers is injured, but need some more receivers for him. But him on the because then who the Bengals gonna have if they trade him? Who they gonna have? Or I don't even think they traded him. Yeah, no, they just signed him. So yeah, who are they gonna get if they don't sign him? Because I don't even think the Bengals really had any trades this offseason so far, to be honest with you. Or like any signings or anything. So I mean, they got Jamar Chase. I think Joe Burrow might be injured if I'm not mistaken. That's the shit about it. I'm gonna be honest. Oh, T. Higgins, I think too. I don't know if he's still on the team. I don't know what they're gonna do with him, but shit, that's about it. I don't even think I can't even name. I think Cam Taylor-Britt might be on their defense, and then they got Hendrickson, which he's not on the team no more. So, but I think he said he didn't want to be on the Bengals anymore anyway. So, I don't know, bro.
We got some context and some explanation from Ravens general manager Eric DeCosta a couple hours ago.
I think our relationship with agents and with other teams is really, really good. I understand the question.
I don't know.
I think,
like, who do y'all think would be better for their team, like Crosby or Trey Hendrickson? Because I feel like Crosby, bro. I don't know. You gotta remember, bro. I think Hendrickson is they both defensive ends, so they're not gonna get double teamed. But they will get double teamed, but they won't. You double team often. I don't know. I feel like if you, person like me, if you get somebody that's a defensive end that's good, you got to have another tackle that is at least decent towards them. So, like, for example, you get Max Crosby, you might got to get somebody like, JC, somebody who's not like too crazy, but can put pressure on the quarterback so that you can't double team him, so that the pass rush will be pretty much unstoppable, and the run will be unstoppable for me. But you have to remember too. I mean, like I said, there's only so much the D lineman could do, bro. So if you trade mad money or use mad money to get a defensive end, when you can just go get one from the draft, it's like you still need other people, bro. But he's not the only person on the team on the defense. So you're gonna need more than just one person that is known. Cause shit, I couldn't tell you really by anybody on the Bengals defense, or the Ravens defense. So shit. Well, I know Nick Wiggins is on the defense. That's about it.
That GMs understand the importance of getting as much information as possible before making decisions. I think Mark Andrews, I don't even know. And I would say that most agents would say that myself, George, Nick, Mark Acevedo, Ozzy, Sashi, everybody that works with agents would say that we're a class organization that does business the right way, respectful, and willing to get deals done.
Derek, I know you've had to make some tough conversations with players over the years. What was it like with Max when you informed him that you guys were going to have to move on?
Yeah,
tell Max he wasn't.
Like you said, in this business you have a lot of tough conversations, right? It was tough. It's a guy that I really admire as a player. I mean, you've all watched him play, so you all know what he's like as a player, right? This is a guy that plays like a Raven,
Oh no, I just think like, what are the Ravens and the Browns thinking about the Ravens and the Bengals? What are they thinking about their best pass rusher not being on the team no more and having to replace that person with somebody that's not going to be the same caliber as them, unless they could find a way to. But there's not that many more D linemen left.
So yeah, it's challenging. You get emotionally attached.
What do you mean by it?
That's what I would say.
You judged by this. Is there anything you regret that you did or did not do as part of this process that could have changed the results? The end results here.
I think I'm hard on myself, and you question everything you do. In this business, you're never perfect. Right?
All right, bro. I ain't gonna lie, bro.
I think in this particular instance, I'm really proud of the team and the doctors and the guys that work with me. And
you talk too much.
It's a tough thing that we have to deal with in this business.
You talk too much.
I don't really know what we could do differently
Come on, bro.
than what we did. So again, it's a really, really, really tough call.
Listen,
yesterday when honestly I was just sitting in my chair in my office and just thinking about what the next step would be and trying to get as much information as possible. And it wasn't, I should say, it wasn't just in a situation like this, you try to get as much information as you can from many different sources as you can. And it just didn't work out. So yeah, tough, very, very challenging. We've dealt with these kinds of things in the past, probably never at such a large figure. So challenging.
You got to negotiate all the terms of it?
I think at some point you get to where, when you look at the situation, you have to make the right decision. It's not always about the value. It's just what is the right decision for the club at the time, and it's a hard thing to do. But as I said, when you're a steward of an organization, you're put in that position, you've got to make a tough call.
All right, welcome inside with the Insiders. Tom, Ian, Judy, and Mike. A lot to unpack right there from Eric DeCosta speaking to reporters about an hour ago. But Ian, as Patrick mentioned off the top, this has been a wild 24 hours. Catch us up to speed on exactly how we got here.
We finished the show last night at 8 p.m. Eastern. 8:02, the message came in from the Raiders saying that the Ravens have nullified the trade for Max Crosby, and then everything went absolutely crazy. Talk about frenzy. That right there was a frenzy. Here's what we know. Max Crosby was in Baltimore having his physical. Remember, 2 months out from having surgery to repair his torn meniscus. The Ravens knew that he was not going to be 100%. They, and the Cowboys, by the way, as well, pursued a trade for Max Crosby, believing that he was progressing enough and that the deal was going to be good enough that they would feel confident that the trade was going to work. They did the trade. It was 2 first-rounders for Crosby. During the course of the physical, the Baltimore Ravens, their doctors, and other doctors that they consulted with, including Dr. Dan Cooper from the Dallas Cowboys, one of the expert in this, they decided that there was risk. Now, how much risk is really for anyone to judge, but the Ravens did not feel like the risk was enough to warrant 2 first-round picks going to the Las Vegas Raiders. They talked to him about potentially, as Jane and Mike reported, about potentially redoing the trade. It did not happen. The trade was off. Crosby headed back to Las Vegas to continue his career with the Raiders. And then this morning,
I like Crosby just stay on the same team at this point, because it's like, why even do this, bro? You got a family down in Las Vegas or wherever you at. Just stay where you at, bro. And see, because what's crazy too? The Raiders are actually building their team up. Like they have, I know they got Kobe Dean, they got a couple other people yesterday. I feel like that he could low-key just stay there, bro. Honestly, stay there. I mean, he may not get the exact money he wants, but I feel like the Raiders would be decent. If they get some more offensive players, I mean, I know they got Genty. They probably think I had another quarterback too. He might as well just stay with them, bro. Honestly, I don't see a point in him going to a different team. Because then imagine he goes to a different team and the Raiders get even better. Like, say, for example, Max Crosby leaves and, you know, a star goes to their team, like another star goes to their team, or they go to the draft. Because, you know, the Raiders were like the worst team. I think they probably got like, you know, first couple of draft picks. So, shit, they could probably get some good player. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, bro. Yes, bro.
Deal $60 million guaranteed, and there was the Ravens' big-ticket edge. They actually discussed signing both of these guys, trading for Crosby and signing Hendrickson. They end up only with Trey Hendrickson, which is a huge addition for half of what they're talking about.
Them niggas starving, bro.
That is one of the things we learned from Eric DeCosta in his meeting with reporters, is that the plan actually was to have both Max Crosby and Trey Hendrickson, getting the deal done with Crosby and then signing Trey Hendrickson. And then, of course, when the Crosby thing fell apart, they pivoted very quickly. They were able to pivot very quickly because that was already in their plans. Mostly what I took away, though, from Eric DeCosta was his tone, his bearing. Obviously, we have focused on the collapse of this trade. It is clear, whatever you think about how the Ravens handled it, the Ravens are devastated that this fell apart. Eric DeCosta looks personally devastated. He used word like gutted. He was speechless. He said sitting in his office, he was trying to think what they could do, what was going to be next. He said he doesn't think there was anything he could have done differently, that ultimately they were gathering as much information as they could, and he had to make the right decision for the franchise. But you could hear how difficult it was for him on a personal level, how difficult the conversation was that he had to have with Max Crosby. It sounded like his voice was about to break up. So there are a lot of people who are apparently mad at the Baltimore Ravens, and DeCosta addressed that as well. He was asked, do you think that this is going to affect your relationships with other teams, with agents, with players? And he said, well, it hasn't stopped my phone from ringing. So I do think that perhaps all of the people who say, whoa, they're not going to be able to do any deals with the Baltimore Ravens anymore, maybe overplaying it just a little bit. This is a business. They had to make a very, very difficult decision. And they are obviously, as much as the Raiders may be upset and Max Crosby is upset, the Ravens are pretty devastated that they didn't get the guy they wanted.
Yeah, Judy, you know what?
We're not going on there, though.
We hear this sometimes. I covered the Giants with Tom Coughlin back in the day, and I remember players were telling me, like, do you think free agents are going to want to come here? And I was like, ooh, that's a good thought. And then they had, like, the biggest free agency class in the history of the franchise the following spring. You want to know why? Because of money. Money! That's going to get people to go to the Baltimore Ravens in the future. It's not a question of all this. So I'm not worried about that part of things. I will say, though, the thought that something nefarious happened, look, in conversations with people in Baltimore last night into today, I think one thing's clear. They wanted Max Crosby. Like, this is not a great ending for them. And the fact that you hear Eric DeCosta say, well, we wanted to get Max Crosby and Trey Hendrickson, those talks were
so greedy, bro. You do not need my boy Max Crosby and my boy Trey. You don't. You're being greedy.
Their way.
That's the problem.
But it was the trade falling through and realizing, like, we have got to do something. Like, we're not going to get both, but we still have to make sure we get one. Now, that really hit the accelerator.
That's probably what messed them up. They were so damn greedy that they tried to get two, and they couldn't even get one because they were so greedy. Because now, think about it, two, you got to think about it like this. Let me actually put y'all on game. If they get both, right, they have to put a price for both of them. So if they pay my boy Crosby 120 and they pay my boy Trey only 100 or something like that, they're showing favoritism towards one of them. There's no way they're going to be able to both equally get the same amount of money. You get what I'm trying to say? So it's really like, if we're being fair, it wasn't going to work out anyway. That's like trying to sign Jay Jettas and Jamar Chase. If you settle for both of them, then you're going to have to pay them exactly what both of them want, which is most likely going to be either extremely high price together or paying one more than the other, in which they won't want to do that. And they'll rather go to a team that will pay them even more. And in that way, for me, and then even then, it's not going to be, I mean, with receivers, it's a little different. But with D linemen, it's like you got two D linemen that play the same position. So if you have somebody else that's on your team that's good too, then now you're going to have a rotation of who plays, and then one might not get enough minutes. You know what I'm saying? So
last night into today to get the numbers up to a point at which Hendrickson would accept the deal and become a Raven. And I'm sure in his mind he would have loved for it to be, me on one end and Crosby on the other end, because when the Ravens lost Tyler Linderbaum, and this is what good teams do, they say, well, we had all this money dedicated to the center position because we were trying to get Linderbaum back. Well, you're not then just going to throw that money at another center. You're going to say, well, where can we use it to be more effective? Hey, how about we just make our pass rush dominant? You sort of saw it with the Eagles, adding Reek Woolen. Wasn't in their initial plans. But they were trying to retain Jalen Phillips. Now we can use that money elsewhere. That's what they tried to do on this one. But again, the deal falling through, the trade falling through really made them hit the accelerator to finalize this deal with Hendrickson.
Like, obviously, Eric DeCosta not going to get into details of Max Crosby's private medical info. The Raiders have not given any type of a detailed response. So there are a lot of different angles to this that we may never have covered. I would say one thing that is not in dispute is that we have made a shift from the story of the offseason being the Ravens trading 2 first-round picks for Max Crosby to the story of the offseason being the Ravens trading Max Crosby for Trey Hendrickson and their 2 first-round picks back. Patrick?
A lot to keep track of. Thank you to our NFL Network insiders as we will, get back to discuss another edge. Big-time deal for the Panthers for Jalen Phillips. Brian Baldinger joins us to discuss what that type of impact can be. And we're talking quarterbacks with Greg Rosenthal, the orchestrator, the administrator of the top 101 available free agents. Daniel Jones back in Indy. What does that mean? We discuss with Greg next on NFL Network. Here on the Insiders, here's what's new today coming into the NFL LA newsroom. This one in Detroit, where LA traded Jared Goff not too long ago. He's restructured his contract, clearing up $32 million in cap space for Dan Campbell's squad
what does that mean?
In Michigan. Elsewhere in that division, Aaron Jones is going to remain a Minnesota Vikings. Revised his contract in order to stay with the team. He's going to get a base salary of $5.5 million in this upcoming season. We did have some player movement, though. Caleb Chason is going to the Washington Commanders. It's a 1-year contract worth up to $12 million for the now former New England Patriot edge, who had some big success for the Patriots on their way to the Super Bowl. Here's the remaining free agent.
I think who that dude was. Okay, so my boy, it's pretty much the same people. I mean, the Campbell dude look like different. Kirk Cousins. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I only know about like 5 people on this list right now. My boy Collar, Jennings, Campbell, Joey, my boy Kirk. And if I didn't say Joe on yet.
You'll notice that we don't have a lot of the numbers north of 42. That's because I think the NFL is playing off of Greg Rosenthal's top 101 free agent list, and that is why we go straight to the source itself. Greg Rosenthal joining us here in the NFL LA newsroom. Greg, we got the Dimes deal. It's done. Daniel Jones back. Got $50 million guaranteed. Your reaction to that?
A 2-year deal, I'm worried. And look, I know this is like hope season. I think the Colts had to make this deal, but it feels to me like they are chasing 10 magical games where they got out to an 8-2 record. But if the plan is, let's chase what we did last year, except our quarterback is coming off a torn Achilles tendon. He's taking up way more of the salary cap, and we just lost Michael Pittman. And oh, by the way, we wanted Trey Hendrickson. We lost him too.
That's right.
That doesn't make me feel great about what's to come. And ultimately, I look at the front office and the structure of this contract. I think everyone's on a 1-year deal.
They lost their receipt, but think about it. They paid Daniel Jones $100 million and the Pierce suit $114 million. You feel me? And then they lost the other receiver, and then their other quarterback is off of injury. Feel me?
So Daniel Jones is a guy who has often won with his athleticism. And I'm hearing reports he'll be ready for training camp. He'll be ready for the start of the season. That's 9 months after that surgery. Training camp's about 7.5 months after that surgery. He's a guy who needs to run, I think, to be effective, and he was not as effective late in his tenure for the Colts. So to me, it's a big come down from Trey Hendrickson to Michael Clemens, who was signed today. And I just think it's going to be a really high bar for Daniel Jones and the Colts to do what they did early last season.
I like how disappointing it was for him to have that injury at the time where he was already playing with a broken leg. Kind of look back and not, hindsight, foresight. Perhaps he should not have been playing. You mentioned Trey Hendrickson in this situation. Eric DeCosta let us know an hour and a half ago that they didn't just want Max Crosby, they wanted them both. But now Trey Hendrickson is Baltimore.
Yeah, and I just wish that I was on here with you.
Oh, yeah, I already know that.
When this news happened, I mean, Mr. Professional was handling it. And I think, look, if you're into the Ravens, I think you have to think forward now. Okay, you lost Max Crosby. They did not want to do that. You got Trey Hendrickson. That's fantastic. But they said they were, considering trying to get them both. You could use another edge rusher. And what I started to think about without Max Crosby is, what does this team still need? Trey Hendrickson, not as good a run stopper as Max Crosby. Maybe nobody is. But they really need that in their defense. I want some clarity on if Nnamdi Madubuike is going to be back next season. I look at center. You just lost the guy clearly they wanted to keep in Tyler Linderbaum. And then, I don't know about you, but I could use a few more weapons for Lamar Jackson. Just lost Isaiah Likely. So a lot of focus here on what's going on at the edge position, Patrick. I got to look at a Ravens roster that is in a little worse shape right now than it usually is at this time.
Well, considering the circumstances that we thought last week, there's a 14th overall pick that's not in the equation. We'll see what position that ultimately leads to. We have had some positions change for the Washington Commanders. Right? We just talked about Caleb Chason. They get active. There were some folks that were like, what are the Commanders doing? A lot of these are today, as the Washington Commanders very, very active in this portion of the free agency.
They do need some defense.
Reaction?
I love it. I feel like I've been a Debbie Downer on this segment, and I'm in on the Commandos. 2026. You talked about going off my top 101 free agents list. Okonkwo, Leo Chanel, and Caleb Chason were literally the 3 highest players other than those 2 in the top 20, and they picked them off right in a row. I think that they got great value for each one of those contracts, and you especially think about what Okonkwo could do on the offense. But Chanel, Chason, Owe, and then Nick Cross, who had the most run stops of any safety in the league last season in a defense. And not enough people are talking about this. It's going to be run by Durante Jones, a Brian Flores disciple. And I wondered, is it going to be more Dan Quinn or is it going to be more Durante Jones? I think these pickups indicate to me it's going to be a different attacking type of defense like the one that Flores ran. I think Leo Chanel and Cross especially are going to be fun pieces.
And the Nick Cross information kind of goes back to your original point about the Indianapolis Colts and the circumstances there. A lot of issues to fill. And also, Adam Peters, post the browser history. We know you're looking at the top 101. Everybody is NFL.com/top101. See Greg Rosenthal's work. Thank you, Greg. As we've got more news coming out of this. We knew this one. Of course, it's officially official. It's Travis Kelce back for season number 14 with the Kansas City Chiefs. There have been some notable departures, though. How about this graphic? Look to the right side. There's a lot of.
All right, so this is who they got. Oh, these are they lost. So they got, so far, they got the tongue I do. He's from the Texans. I don't know. People on the Patriots. They got Thornton. He came back. Damn. They got my boy Kenneth. I ain't gonna lie. I don't know that he'll gonna do it unless he played for the Patriots. Travis Kelce, okay. Then they lost my boy Trent McDuffie, Jalen Watson. So they lost 2 corners. They lost a safety. That's them in the whole secondary. Then they lost a tackle. This might be an offensive tackle. And then they lost the linebacker and a running back.
Football champions, all that, including 2 big parts
of the secondary.
Jalen Watson. They do get Travis Kelce back. The speedy deep threat, if not for Alec Pierce, he would have had the top yards per catch number for a couple of years now. Let's bring in Jeff Judea to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs offseason. Jeff, a lot has changed, and a lot specifically for Steve Spagnuolo to try to figure out coming up here in 2026.
Yeah, a lot of excitement about what happened on offense with Kenneth Walker and Travis Kelce. But you look on that right side of that graphic you just showed, and it's pretty sparse on that side of the football. And this is going to be a big offseason for that defense. They've been really good with what Steve Spagnuolo, their defensive coordinator, has been able to do with that unit. But when you're losing 2 corners and you're talking about playing a guy like Noah Williams, who was a rookie last year, didn't play a whole bunch, and Christian Fulton, who was hurt for most of the season at your 2 starting corners, that's a little bit of risk. That's a risky proposition. And let's not forget that edge rusher is also a concern here. George Karlaftis is the only proven player at that position, and so they got to find more bodies there. They got to find more depth at the interior defensive line. They've made some good moves. Kyrus Tonga coming in at interior defensive line to help Chris Jones out. Safety, Alohi Gilman coming in should help that back end. But yeah, if you're Steve Spagnuolo right now, you're not sitting there celebrating so much about what's happening in your organization because you need more bodies and you need more starters fast.
Yeah, so much, of course, on the legs, arms, shoulders of Patrick Mahomes, who did have that surgery on December 15th, 2025. All hopes kind of leading on 15 for a lot for this Kansas City Chiefs team. Jeff Judea checking out the rest of that Chiefs roster. We got more insiders coming up as the Raiders, well, hey, they just acquired Max Crosby. You could view it that way in a certain aspect. As Brian Baldinger joins the show to talk about what's next for the folks in Las Vegas. That's coming up here on the Insiders on NFL Network. Stick around.
I was going to say he might as well just stay.
Back here on the Insiders, here's what's coming in new today to the NFL LA newsroom. Of course, a lot of quarterback transactions that have happened this offseason. A couple of them becoming official today, and Kyler Murray and Kirk Cousins. Daniel Jones gets a deal, gets $50 million guaranteed, and Malik Willis changing spots. Malik Willis now the starting quarterback for the Dolphins, and Tua with an opportunity to start in Atlanta for more quarterback breakdown. Let's get to our NFL Network Insiders. Tom Pelissero, Ian Rappaport, Judy Batista, and Mike Garafolo.
Thank you very much, Patrick. The Daniel Jones saga has come to an end for now, agreeing to terms, as Ian and I reported. 2 years, $88 million, can earn up to $100 million with incentives. Ian, important for a variety of reasons for the Colts to get this done. This also gives them some flexibility, some stability at a position where both those things have been an issue here for a number of years.
It's really more important than flexibility here because what the Indianapolis Colts have wanted was just a franchise quarterback. It's been, 10 years or so since they've had one. It's been a frustrating circumstances of different quarterbacks in and out. This was the guy that they wanted to be their quarterback long term. And it wasn't just the team. It was also Alec Pierce, their top receiver, who signed for a 4-year, $114 million deal in free agency. He wanted to sign believing that Daniel Jones would be the quarterback. The team got to work, wanting to do it anyway, but certainly that helped spur things along. End up signing him to a 2 years, you mentioned $88 million deal, $100 million overall. That is the max. $50 million this year, which is $12 more million than he would have gotten if he was on the transition tag. Daniel Jones gets another payday, and they do believe he's going to be on track for week 1 after that Achilles injury. So obviously a significant move to solidify some key spots for Indy.
Yeah, and this gives some optimism for the Indianapolis Colts. They got the quarterback they wanted back, Daniel Jones. They get to keep Alec Pierce. It's a good deal for all sides with Daniel Jones because, listen, $50 million guaranteed this year is manageable for any team. And for Daniel Jones, if he comes back and regains his health well and plays the way he was playing in the first half of the season, last year he hits free agency pretty quickly. He's only tied to the Colts until 2027 with this contract. So he would then get another bite at the apple. Perhaps it would again be with the Colts, but he would get another bite at the apple fairly quickly. So this actually worked out well. It took them a little time. They needed to use the transition tag to buy them some time, but they finally got to the point where they had all hoped they would be. And now they can go forward again. There is some optimism based on what they saw in that first half of the season before Daniel Jones started getting hurt last year that they can pick up and go forward with that offense.
So the Colts now have their starting quarterback locked in. The Vikings may soon as well, Mike. At least they got to compete with J.J. McCarthy for the job now that Kyler Murray's release official from the Arizona Cardinals. Vikings plan to make a push for Kyler Murray, and it seems fair to say right now they are the team to beat.
Sounds that way, and you see the way that the chairs have been filled the last couple of days. It was kind of sort of indicating that was going to be the case, and now that Kyler's free, that is what we expect. And I heard you say compete. Yes, that's my understanding, is that this is not going to be rolling out the red carpet, or I guess the red carpet for Kyler Murray and saying, you are the starter here. You're going to have to compete with J.J. McCarthy. Now, I had mentioned some of the discussion for the Vikings about which way they want to go was making sure it was a good short-term decision and also a good long-term decision for the team. J.J. McCarthy still in the plans, still going to be given a chance to be this team's franchise quarterback. So that starts with a competition with Kyler Murray. Look, as we're sitting here right now, who do we expect to be the starting quarterback? I would say probably Kyler Murray at this point, but it'll be a competition throughout the spring and the summer. Yeah. And J.J. McCarthy still got a chance to dig in his heels and say, no, this is my team. I want to be the franchise quarterback. Let's see how it plays out.
I hope he says it just like that. Tom mentioned
just like
yesterday or whenever that was on Good Morning Football, saying that Kyler Murray wanted to have conversations with teams, general managers, coaches, sort of in advance of his 2027 free agency. That seems to be ongoing now. Actually, a pretty smart thing to do. You have the time. You're allowed to do Zooms. Why not take the time to have some real good football conversations and then potentially come back and end up signing with the Vikings? Right, I'm really interested to see where this goes. Kevin O'Connell has done an excellent job with a whole bunch of different random quarterbacks and getting them to have success. Kyler has to be the most talented quarterback he's had. He has had some incredible moments. Has not put it all together yet. Certainly by the end in Arizona, it was not going in a great direction. What does Kyler Murray become with Kevin O'Connell as his coach? It's going to be a really, really fun storyline to follow if this all happens tomorrow.
Another release becoming official today. The Falcons cutting Kirk Cousins. That was a function of his contract. It was an inevitability. Atlanta moving forward with Michael Penix Jr. and Tua Tagovailoa. And Judy, Kirk Cousins has accomplished a lot in the league. He looked pretty good down the stretch last season, but you look at the landscape for quarterbacks right now, it's hard to find a spot for Kirk Cousins even to compete to start, which means this may take a while.
Or he might just retire.
Yeah, we were just talking about all the chairs being filled. Well, the chairs have mostly been filled for starting jobs, certainly, and even jobs that would allow him to compete for the starting job. And you got to think that Kirk Cousins is going to be very careful and very choosy about his next destination, given what happened in Atlanta. I am sure he does not want to repeat of where he goes to a team which promptly drafts a quarterback who is immediately going to take his job. Probably would not like that. He's obviously made a lot of money in his career. He can sit back and wait. And let's be honest, it's an inevitability. Quarterbacks get hurt in the NFL, whether it is during minicamps or training camp. A quarterback is going to get hurt. And I have a feeling that every time a quarterback gets hurt and a team needs a starter to come in very quickly, I have a feeling we're going to be talking about Kirk Cousins.
I mean, it could be a similar situation. What happened in Atlanta? Matt Ryan was was on a desk at CBS doing their pregame show, and then all of a sudden now he's in the building running the Falcons. We could see Kirk Cousins be in media, do his thing. He's actually very good at it. And then someone has a quarterback injury, and they say, you know what, we're going to pay you more than $10 million to come in and save our season. Bring on Kirk Cousins. Off goes the tie, and on goes the football uniform. Definitely a situation we're going to be talking about a lot next year if there's an early quarterback injury.
Off go the ties every night. Another 2-hour edition here of the Insiders. We've got Patrick Claybon in on the no tie game. Patrick, we'll send it back to you.
Thanks, Tom. Yes, I removed my tie because bullying works. If you guys got it off, it's time for a fantasy look here on the Insiders. Mike Leflorio joining our show because so much, Mike, everybody wants to know fantasy impact of the players involved. But there's also an impact on the players that weren't directly involved in free agency. So let's go. We'll start with Texans quarterback CJ Stroud. What do you think the impact has been for him?
First, I lose my tie. We're going to get my first time on the Insiders.
You're talking about somebody else again. Slow down, small brother.
Something like that, right? I know the rules of this show. I just forgot. But I think it is unfortunately trending down for CJ Stroud because for some reason the Texans continue to be like, let's make life harder on him and get rid of our best offensive lineman. For a second straight offseason, that's what they did when they lost Titus Howard, who had allowed the fewest quarterback pressures of all tackles last year. In fact, it wasn't even close.
Damn.
I know they brought in Braden Smith to replace him, but he has allowed pressure and sacks at a much higher rate despite drawing less double teams. Stroud has just struggled while under pressure the last 2 years, and to me, their O-line took another step back. David Montgomery should help, but they also lost Christian Kirk and haven't brought in any receivers. So pending the draft, I do think CJ Stroud is what he was last year, like a QB2 in fantasy.
All right, so you hear that, the folks in Houston. The draft could have a chance to make the reaction from Michael Leflorio a little more positive with CJ Stroud. Let's go across the street to that stadium right over there, Omarion Hampton of the Los Angeles Chargers. Your view of how free agency has impacted him?
Yeah, I'm so excited for him. I wore Chargers colors today.
Powder on.
Look, first, I love the Mike McDaniel OC hire. I know that happened weeks ago, but I think that was a huge arrow pointing up for Omarion Hampton. And they went out and they added to this offensive line, right? They're going to have their star tackles back healthy. They added a new center, a guard, and more depth behind those pieces so it can't hopefully collapse like it did last year. And then back to McDaniel. We know he's going to create running backs. He's also going to throw the ball to his running backs a ton. But just put Omarion Hampton in positions where he could get the ball in space because they added Alec Ingold and Charlie Kohler, which doesn't move the fantasy needle at all, but they are both excellent run blockers. So I think Hampton remains an RB1 this year for fantasy, and all of the hype that you had for him last year still applies, but I think he goes in around 2 or 3. So if you want him, be ready to pay a price.
Speaking of players who are the best at their position, we've been on Trey McBride for a very, very long time. There's certainly a change as Kyler Murray no longer is going to be involved. The opportunity for the franchise to kind of blame Kyler is going to be gone as well. So what is the impact for Trey McBride considering the whole offseason in free agency?
Yeah, for a while I thought they were going to get Malik Willis, and I was like, as much as I'm excited for Malik Willis, that feels like a negative for Trey McBride. Well, it's going to be Jacoby Brissett, which is best case scenario because last season, 20 fantasy points per game with Jacoby Brissett, 13 without him. In the 12 games he played with Jacoby, he scored 10 touchdowns. He had 7 touchdowns in his other 54 career games. Plus, he averaged almost 11 targets per game and 80 yards per game with Jacoby, which is elite numbers. But his low in any game in targets was 8, and he had just 1 game with single-digit fantasy points. So the floor is super safe. The ceiling is like wide receiver 1 numbers. Forget tight end 1 numbers. This is best case scenario for him. He is the clear-cut tight end 1, in my opinion. And if you want him, I think he's going to be going in the second round of drafts, Patrick. And I think that's an appropriate price for him.
Yeah, you could sometimes, considering the way the season ended, maybe somebody could make a 1 case for Trey McBride if they wanted. Let's stick with the tight ends. Let's stick with the blue team that you like a little bit more than the Los Angeles Chargers. That would be the Buffalo Bills. We just saw the big-time deal, well, the extension for 1 tight end. Let's talk about Dalton Kincaid. How do you think the offseason's been for him?
Not great. Because you mentioned they bring Dawson Knox there, which is going to continue to limit the snaps that Dalton Kincaid plays. But that's not what I'm worried about. Because when Kincaid was out there last year, he had a 26% target rate. That was the 4th highest of all tight ends. That means when he was on the field, the ball was going his way, and the clear-cut top targets were him and Khalil Shakir. Now I think those 2 guys are fighting for second behind DJ Moore, who I expect to be the clear-cut number 1 option in the passing game for Josh Allen and the Bills. So we know that McBride and Bowers are the top tight ends. After that, there's a sizable tier of like Colson Loveland, Tyler Warren, Harold Fannin. I think
there's some guy in Atlanta as well, Mike.
I think all of those guys are trending up, and they have firmly surpassed Dalton Kincaid for me.
We're going to have a chance to talk more tight ends, more fantasy football coming up next week on our edition of
these
Fantasy
are the only
Live.
niggas that are actually like
Thank Michael F. Florio for joining us here on the Insiders when we come back. Let's get ready for our second hour. I guess our final hour of the frenzied edition, the 2-hour special edition of the Insiders.
All right, come on,
maybe we get breaking news tonight. Who else? We'll get back here on the network.
I just kind of like this. So, like, you get to talk to one part. You get to talk to a certain group, then they switch it to another group, and then switch to another group, and then they go back. That's kind of cool, bro. I ain't gonna lie, I fuck with it. I'm my boy Reed. I see you, Reed.
Mike Garofolo and Ian Rappaport all with us, all in our respective rooms where it happened, as news has been rolling in to all of their phones over the past several days. Let's catch you up on some before they discuss it. We'll start with the news about a quarterback, Kyler Murray. And a lot of folks probably been waiting for his official release. The Cardinals officially released him seconds after the new league year started today at 4 o'clock Eastern. And we did get a statement from Monty Ossenford saying, with the start of today's new league year and transactions now official, we want to thank Kyler for everything he's done for this organization over the past 7 seasons. We're extremely grateful for his contributions. Now, we also like the speculation that he's going to be doing had the statement been released prior to today. We also got some news about Atlanta Falcons quarterback Kirk Cousins, no longer an Atlanta Falcons quarterback.
I was kind of waiting a little bit so I could have
everything. Kirk Cousins with a post-June 1st designation, so Kirk Cousins now with an opportunity to play elsewhere. Big active, I guess, quarterback news from Daniel Jones, who played late in the season with a broken leg and torn Achilles. He actually gets his deal, gets re-signed by the Indianapolis Colts, 2 years, up to $88 million worth, up to, could be $100 million, $50 million of that fully guaranteed. So Daniel Jones will remain an Indianapolis Colt. Trey Hendrickson, of course, after we find out about the Max Crosby deal not happening,
hold on, my team is the
deal could be worth $112 million, $60 million of that guaranteed. There was a world where the Ravens, according to Eric DeCosta, wanted both Hendrickson and Max Crosby. He explained that earlier today.
Hold on, let's see what he has to say first.
I think our relationship with agents
is we're skipping this.
This one because Jane Slater and I did report this afternoon that there was at least a brief conversation, a brief mention of, hey, we may want to talk about the compensation here because
NFL, bro. Why do y'all have the same thing in the same video, bro? Come on, what's up with y'all? Y'all all right? They done told me the same thing twice.
Demeanor today. The Raiders have Max Crosby. Again, it's as if they gave up 2 first-round draft picks and got Max Crosby.
Maybe this is a little bit of failure. Maybe this is a guy who should finish.
What the fuck are you doing with y'all, man? Who edited it? Hey, NFL, bro. If y'all need somebody to edit y'all videos, y'all can call on me, bro. Because whoever edited your video was not paying attention at all.
Questions because everybody, again, is 24 hours removed from the shock. But, Ian, I think one thing that's important to note here is nobody is sitting here saying that Max Crosby cannot play football. Even the Ravens are not saying Max Crosby cannot play football. He played most of last season with this injury. Didn't practice much, but he played most of the season with the injury. This is about the medium term, not really an injury.
We're skipping. I'm going to be honest.
We're back here on the Insiders on NFL Network, so welcome back to you. Also, welcome back to the Denver Broncos, coming from the Denver.
We signed QB. I don't even. I'm not even trying to be funny. I genuinely did not even know what this is. I'm going to be so smooth.
Broncos, 2 quarterback Sam Ehlinger, as they have signed Sam Ehlinger. He will return to the Denver Broncos. And the hero from week 1, where the San Francisco 49ers beat the
Seahawks?
Eventual Super Bowl champion.
49ers. I don't know who this is either. I think I heard of him, though.
Seattle Seahawks.
I think he was like a good college player.
Talks Jake Tonjes agrees to a 2-year, $8 million contract, $5.5 million of that guaranteed, according to our insiders. Ian Rappaport, Tom Pelissero, and Mike Garofolo, as we look back to a fun free agency weekend. Hey, everybody.
What's up with y'all? Y'all good?
Thank you very much, Patrick. Let's start out with a loose end that exists in free agency, or the lack thereof. Mike, tell me about the latest on Dallas Goedert and his future, if any, in Philadelphia.
Yes, the Eagles tight end had a $20 million cap hit.
I'm going to be honest with you, bro. I don't know who we'll even get if we trade him, bro. Honestly, I feel like we need some type of veteran, though. If we trade him, got to at least get, Kyle Pitts or, who's a good tight end? Maybe, I don't even know what, free agent ones. Maybe, Trey McBride if we can get him, or Brock Bowers.
To hit at the end of business yesterday, which would have cramped the Eagles a little bit in that regard. However, as my friend Zach Berman down there in Philadelphia of The Athletic first reported, that void on Goddard's deal has been moved back to Friday. Now, this is important for 2 reasons. One, the Eagles are trying to retain Dallas Goedert, number 1. I mentioned that to you before. And Goddard would like to remain in Philadelphia if at all possible. The other aspect here at play is the A.J. Brown aspect. Now, it's a huge cap hit if the Eagles trade A.J. Brown right.
It's $20 million if they trade him, bro.
Right now, it's still a big cap hit if they trade him after June 1st, but it's really bad if they trade him now. And we have been saying that with the cap hit and the money dedicated to Brown, if they keep him, they weren't going to be able to keep the likes of Goddard and Reed Blankenship and the Kobe Dean, the guys that are.
So we won't be able to keep Goddard if we keep A.J. Brown? Because we already lost Reed Blankenship and Kobe Dean, and some other people
already left. So pushing this void back a couple of days leaves the window to trade A.J. Brown still open here. Because if they move him and they take that cap hit, they can bring Goddard back, use the money that they were going to spend on.
So if we leave A.J. Brown and no dust, we can keep Goddard and avoid the cap.
Brown, and also avoid the cap hit there. So a couple of moving parts there in Philadelphia. Stay tuned. We'll see what happens with A.J. Brown. Still could go either way.
Who's going to give us some advice?
A lot of action
this guy
in Philadelphia so far, at least in terms of the things that could happen. Meanwhile, the Jets have had real action, Judy. A lot of maneuvering here. Some signings of some very seasoned veterans here. What do you make of the makeover so far in New York?
I want to give some love to the Jets because we don't often have the opportunity to do this, so I want to take a moment to do this. But they've gotten better in the last few days. You're right. They have signed some seasoned vets. We just talked about Geno Smith. Minka Fitzpatrick is coming. Demario Davis, Joseph Asai, Nashon Wright. He had 5 interceptions last year. Famously, the Jets had none. They are an improved team. What they should have.
I ain't gonna lie. I'm never in my life going to forget that. I almost forgot. Although the Jets literally had no interceptions last season. Yo, Jets, dog. Hey, I got to give y'all credit, bro. Y'all got some more people. Geno Smith's not gonna get you no interceptions. I don't think Demario Davis probably will either. Or I don't even know what his side plays. I'm going to be honest with you. Minka Fitzpatrick, he might. But shit, somebody needs to. Because shit, I ain't going to lie. Like, I think if anybody on the team gets a pick next season, they literally, like, not necessarily broke a record, but they got you out that slump of having no interceptions the whole season.
At the very least, in terms of will be confidence and also leadership, which they badly needed. They badly needed both, but they really needed leadership. And they're going to get that from Geno, Minka, Demario Davis. They've got some veteran guys in there. Last year was.
Hey, I don't think anybody bet on the Jets. Like, after Sauce Gardner left, like, I don't think anybody bet on their defense. But if you did, bro, on a pick for them, yeah, you might as well just gave me the money, bro. Let me be honest with you. They didn't have any picks at all. Not even one.
It was dysfunctional at times for the Jets.
You got to think, too, like, the tip passes, too. They could have tipped it to somebody or something.
That way anymore. They kept Breece Hall. They got some talent on the team. Geno is the perfect bridge guy to get them to the next generation. They got a lot of draft picks coming up. I think the Jets are in a much better place than where they were when the season ended.
Geno, Minka, Demario Davis, that's somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 NFL seasons between the 3 of those guys. The Commanders, Ian, last year were very active in the older veteran market. It obviously did not work out, a step back for them programmatically. This year it seems like a little bit different philosophy for how they're trying to build this thing up.
This year they got younger and seemingly better. Now, they were in a different position. You know, a couple years ago, I would say they were in a position of like, all right, solidify the roster, bring in some older guys, need leadership, set the culture. It took them, along with Jaden Daniels being awesome, took them to the NFC title game and had us thinking they were a team on the rise. Last year, the older players got injured and mostly looked old, and everything went the wrong way. This year, they got more athletic and faster. Obviously, Odafe Owe, the $100 million contract yesterday, or I don't even know when that was, 65 days ago. That was one. Today, 2 intriguing signings started the day off by them signing Calebon Chason, the former first rounder, really impressed last year with the Patriots, a career high 7.5 sacks. He gets a 1-year, $12 million deal, and because it's just a 1-year deal, has the opportunity to cash in again. And then Chig Okonkwo, the former tight end from the Tennessee Titans, gets a 3-year, $30 million deal. Another really, really good athlete, guy who can really run. At the very least, the Washington Commanders got faster, and that is a good thing.
Chig Okonkwo, seemingly the only former Titan who was with Mike Vrabel who didn't end up with the Patriots. Add another one to the list, Kevin Byard, the longtime safety, led the league.
Kevin Byard is going to the Patriots? I don't know. I saw the Patriots, bro. They got my boy Romeo Doubs. They got some O-linemen. Kevin Byard, he's played for the Eagles. That's a good pickup for them, bro. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know. Like, I think they did lose a DB or two. But they definitely did really need a safety.
In interceptions last season, has led the league in interceptions during the course of his career, headed to New England now on a 1-year, $9 million deal. It's an important addition for that defense with Mike Vrabel and Zach Ertz.
Number 4, or like last year, somebody on the Texans let in interception.
Full-time defensive coordinator. Byard's got a lot of productivity in terms of ball production here. 32 years old. He's toward the back end of his career, but showed again last season. In Chicago, what he can do, Bears now have replaced one of their veterans who took the ball away a lot in 2025. Meanwhile, the Cowboys continue to make over their defense, making multiple trades tonight. First off, moving on from Osa Odigizua. They get a 2026 third-round draft pick from the 49ers. For Dallas, this allows them to remove a player who was counted about $16 million this year that he was owed at a position where they're spending a ton of money already on Quinnen Williams and Kenny Clark. They also pick up a third-round draft pick for San Francisco. They got outbid on John Franklin Myers. Now they're able to plug in somebody who immediately is a starting defensive tackle. Also sent Sullivan Thomas in a separate deal to the Titans, who's coach there now. Robert Saleh seems to be gathering all his old Jets. It's a lot of these parts, Patrick. One of the ways you can figure out free agency. Who were you with before? Let's get my guys back. Tons of that going around, and I'll get it back to you.
Yeah, one of the best ways to get things you know is to deal with people you know. That's why.
All right, let's go to these things for the last 4 minutes.
I brought, Michael F. Florio back. We're going to do a fantasy look here on the Insiders.
Yeah, let me down, man.
We'll keep it Titans related because Cam Ward sees a lot of change for his team. He's got a new head coach, new play callers. How do you think the impact on Cam Ward has been considering the way this offseason's gone?
Anyone who listens or watches the fantasy football, NFL fantasy football show knows I'm super invested in the Titans offense. Offseason, I thought they could kind of make a Patriot-like jump, maybe not make the Super Bowl, but add a bunch around your young, talented quarterback and then see where the chips lie. But they made good moves like
Adam
Robinson.
Thielen or something? Or not Adam Thielen. Tyler Lockett.
Knows the system and is a very reliable possession receiver who could be a safety blanket. They added a new center, brought in Daniel Bellinger, but that seems kind of like a downgrade to me compared to Chega Conquo. So for me, it's a little bit disappointing, but this is as of today because I had hopes that the Titans would add a lot of talent around Cam Ward.
I forgot his name. It's a receiver. I think he played for Ohio State.
Has been on defense, but there still is the draft, and they could load up on O-linemen and wide receivers and even another running back there. So it's an incomplete right now, but I did have higher hopes.
Yeah, we just needed Robert Saleh to be closer to more offensive players throughout his career, and then they would be coming to Nashville. Let's go to looking elsewhere because Mike Evans is out.
Yeah.
A lot of change in Tampa Bay. Emeka Egbuka, how do you feel free agency's been for him?
I think it's been great for him. I think the arrow is pointing up for Emeka Egbuka because no Mike Evans there opens up a lot of volume for all of the Bucs wide receivers, but I don't think anyone sees a bigger jump without Evans than Emeka Egbuka because last season he averaged 12.5 fantasy points per game without Evans and just 10 per game with him. 9 targets per game without Evans. That drops to 6 when Evans was out there. His yardage was about a 25 per game difference as well. I know Egbuka and Baker faded down the stretch last year, but in year 2, with Mike Evans not being there, he has a chance to be the top target. I think he remains like a wide receiver 3. That's probably where you have to draft him. But I would argue as of right now, his upside is top 20, if not higher.
All right, big time upside for Emeka Egbuka.
Yeah, I thought the Buccaneers, they probably just need another because I think they got Kenneth Gainwell. They got some other players too. I think they really just need some receivers now since they lost Mike Evans.
Packers, Romeo Doubs out. How do you feel about the impact on Christian Watson?
I love Christian Watson heading into next season. For much of his career, he would play behind Romeo Doubs. Doubs was the X receiver who never came off the field, which limited the opportunities that Christian Watson could get. But we did see Watson take over that number 1 role down the stretch last season, and he had his most consistent fantasy run of his career. So with Doubs gone and Kraft up in the air, at least early on, there is opportunity for Watson to be the number 1 option for Jordan Love.
I feel like those should be Bears jerseys. These jerseys right here.
And Kraft up in the air.
I think they are Bears. Are these not Bears jerseys too?
Early on, there is opportunity for Watson to be the number 1 option for Jordan Love. I expect a lot like Emeka Egbuka, right? Like he'll probably be in the wide receiver 3 territory where you have to draft him. But I think
I think those jerseys are like I don't know if they have already, but they need to bring jerseys back there. Like the first jerseys that every team wore, they should be able to wear. Like either the season, end of the season, maybe even the Super Bowl.
Top 20, if not being a wide receiver 1. There is nothing he cannot do on a football field.
They should have like a throwback Thursday. If you play on a Thursday, you wear a throwback jersey, like for a game.
We just need them to
and then they sell the jersey too that you can buy them for fancy targets.
Maybe we come in with the most clarity we've had the Packers receiving group in the past 6 years. Let's go to a guy who it's been clear, Mr. New Orleans, Alvin Kamara. Now they go and sign ETN. What do you think the impact is?
This pains me, probably not as much as I know it pains you. You are a big Alvin Kamara fan. Whether or not he is traded, I think his days as a lead running back are coming to an end. Last year, if you pick a stat, it was likely a career low for Alvin Kamara. Explosive run rate, yards per contact, average or top speed. Even as a receiver, which is what made him special for years, many of his metrics were a career low. But this is the circle
of his O-line too, though.
Like for running backs in fantasy, right? You start off wanting them to get more touches, then they are a star, and then at the end you're like, no, give the touches to someone else. I'm sick of this guy. Alvin Kamara, unfortunately, is starting to get into that territory in his career.
The circle through despair.
All right, shout out to NFL, man. Let's do a prayer, man. Hold on. Oh, ringtone that stuff. All right. But help all these players be safe and make it to their teams. Help my team be able to get a lot more players too and win a Super Bowl this year. And overall, just help everybody be able to provide for their family, make good decisions, not end up, in jails or anything like that. Taking drugs or anything like that. Just help them be able to give you all the glory and just make the best of their NFL career. Live well, we're nothing without you. It's all to our goals. For me, too, and for others, whatever their goals are. And we try to give you all the glory. Live well, we're nothing without you. Jesus, love you. Jesus, oh yeah, man. Jesus loves y'all. More videos today. Let's stay safe.